SnortBucks Kaffee Bier heißt Sie willkommen zum Snortfest. Beginnend bei das salzige Schwein, Schweinebraterei. Und breitete sich auf Dutzende von SnortBucks Salzbierzelten aus. Snortfest sind 3 Wochen Trinken, Essen und gute altmodische Ausschweifungen. Machen Sie mit. SnortBucks. Willkommen bei Salt.
HipHopGame.com, the #1 hip-hop website. NYC at its finest. Skyzoo, Torae, Primo on the boards. It's custom made. Coalescence. They ain't see this one coming. Yes, y'all. The dude with the fitted to the left is right back at it. I ain't lost a step. Respect through the ceiling. I ain't lost a rep. Ran 100 laps and I ain't lost a breath. So fuck whoever's next. Young and I'm the moment at hand. May God help you, but you gon' get to know that man. Son, I'm past what your aim is. Fuck around and try to get famous, and you'll be slapboxing the stainless. Nah, it ain't tough talk. Dude, it's live. I'm from the block where the king was moving to.
Oh boy. Oh boy. How you guys doing? DSP News, the Snort Report. I really kind of just want to get right into it because, ladies and gentlemen, addiction is a hell of a drug within itself. And though there have been many jokes that have been made over the years about DSP being addicted to, begging or just having a bad habit of begging, ladies and gentlemen, at least at this particular point, this is established as a full-blown addiction that should go ahead and be categorized and leveled up or put in line with the rest of his addictions. His spending addiction, his gambling addiction, his drinking addiction, and now gambling. And now begging. Like, it's all there. I mean, granted, he's been begging since the very beginning, so, you know, that is what that is, but it all needs to... It's all in line now. Now, this gym, which is exactly what it is by far one of the funniest yet saddest moments, I think, that we've seen in quite a while. Because now it makes me wonder, was he really trying to stop begging from Moist Critical? Or was he really trying to go cold turkey from begging? And he just failed miserably. Which, if he could fail at something like this, which is a social thing, and a really more of a self-improvement thing, he'll fail at anything and everything else, which obviously he does. So this is kind of what I want you guys to take heave to when we walk into this clip. Now, this right here is this was an in-house cut. Big ups to Diggs, who went ahead and did that, but it's from the Raw DSP stream. I'll have the link of that down in the description. If Diggs decides to go ahead and put up their rendition, they do. If not, there's other people out there who have one. So it is what it is. And that's pretty much it. Like, you know what I'm saying? I don't even want to call it a relapse. It's just he really never stopped begging. He just tried to figure out another way to mitigate his begging, like an alcoholic trying to cut back on the drinking. King Cobra JFS kind of stands out to me, talking about recently about how he's been trying to cut his drinking back, and he really isn't. He's just cutting his drinking back on camera. He's probably going on active daily binges when he's not streaming or he's not making videos. So there you go. Like, you know, addictions and locales go hand in hand, believe it or not. If you really look, you know what I'm saying? You got Wings and his eating addiction. You have Low Tier God's addiction to himself, amongst other things, except for leg day, apparently. It's an active thing. It really is. Ralph with his drinking and his pills, King Cobra JFS with his drinking, that apparent coke habit, allegedly, the nonsense food hacks. I mean, you know what I'm saying? It's, you know, he can try to hide his drinking behind the drink combos thing, but that's just really what helped establish his drinking habit in the first place. Cobra was always going to be an alcoholic. That was very clear, which is ironic because in a lot of ways he's forcing himself to drink. You can tell that he doesn't like hard liquor. He likes stuff that's sugary and sweet, which is crazy when you look at his teeth. Goddamn. But it's a mess. It's just a fucking mess, and I don't want to keep. I'll expand upon that as we move along. But ladies and gentlemen, hopefully you guys are doing well as usual. Let's go ahead and get into this motherfucking bacon. Let's go ahead and get into this nonsense and whatnot. And hopefully you guys are doing well. Yet again, hopefully you guys are doing well. And you know, this is the Snort Report. This is DSP News, always late, never breaking, unreliable coverage that you cannot count on. I told you this. A GTG Network and Productions. As you know, it's brought to you by SnortBucks Coffee Company, the best beverage company, and Hard Snorts Gin and Tonic, that toxic flavor that never waver. Doesn't cure nasal drip, by the way. You guys all know the slogan, I don't smell no goddamn bacon cooking. Let's go ahead and get into it. See you guys in a second.
And bury the witnesses, but bear witness the lyrical giftedness. Nigga, this the difference. What you've been missing is a new breed of the raw. My ingredients pure. A nutritional breakdown of the boy. The show traces the wildest parts of Shakur. And been a mic fiend since Wild.
All right, guys. I just want to say thank you for a great, definitely a great week, great streaming week. I want to apologize if I came off in the last few days as a little bit pushy when it came to contributions. A few people have said that. Here's the deal. You know, me being transparent with all of you. So
me being transparent with you guys about my addiction. All right, ladies and gentlemen. Yet again, big ups to Diggs for getting this cut. Big ups to Raw DSP, also known as Dark Dave Mirrors. I'll have the link to the actual stream down in the description because that's what we do. Alrighty. Holy shit! God damn it, Phil. What has the DSP universe, the Gouty universe, the DSP abyss? What has it come to where this idiot is actually relapsing, is actually going through withdrawals, if you will, from begging, which goes back to the nonsense where, oh, he's a businessman, oh, jealousy of this, that, and the third. How are you jealous of someone who begs every day? He begs every day, all day. It's all he can do. He doesn't produce anything of value. If it wasn't for begging, right, what is it that DSP puts out that people can put a value on, if you will? If the man is not, and I use the term man loosely, if he's not in distress, what good is he? His detractors, trolls, haters, and critics have weaponized that for years, putting him in stressful situations, putting him in positions to make him seem like, hey, we'll donate money to you if you do such and such, or if you can accomplish such and such. This isn't anything new. Like, what's that thing that's going on now? The bounties for Modern Warfare 2 or Warzone 2.0. That's nothing new. And it's nothing new in the fact that if you guys go back to his Twitch days, he's had little gimmicks and whatnot that, hey, you know, I'll donate X amount here, Phil, if you can accomplish this, or you can do this, or you can do that. Blatant TOS violations. And I'm not talking about the what's it called? The cheers or the bit train or hype trains or all that. I'm not necessarily talking about that. And I'm certainly not talking about the Twitch bounty board. I'm talking about DSP has had little gimmicks on his streams on Twitch to try to encourage people to give him money if he accomplishes a certain thing. This is nothing new. And then him lashing out at people who don't come through on those donations were no surprise either. Yet again, one of the reasons why his Twitch followers, his followers on Twitch, or his followers on Twitch, was so inflated in the first place, because they're just a bunch of dead accounts, or they're a bunch of sock accounts. Same thing with his YouTube sub numbers. Same thing. It's all inflated. You know what I'm saying? Just like his memberships on Twitch and on, well, his subs on Twitch and his membership on YouTube. It's all inflated. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, there's, I would say, really only 30%, maybe even 40% of that number actually exists or are actually active. The rest of it's just fluff. And yet again, if you want to, I don't think it's been brought up yet at the time that I'm recording this, but as it pertains to TOS violations, yeah, actually TOS violations have been brought up. Because I think someone brought that up on, what is this from again? I'm sorry. This is from the 24th. It had to have been like 10 days ago. It had to have been like a couple, like, it couldn't have been no more than a week plus before the actual recording I'm doing here, where people were talking about, hey, is he not breaking TOS with the whole bounty system that he's been doing on Warzone 2.0? But I think, honestly, I think people have been talking about that since he started doing it. We'll see how that pans out. But anywho, so that right there isn't anything new either. Like, there's a pattern to all of this as it pertains to his, not only to his begging, but him trying to figure out other ways to beg to not make him seem like such a pathetic person. Which, yet again, goes back to, do we need online welfare? Do we need, like, social security for washed up streamers and content creators? Or some nonsense like that? I'm wondering. I'm really wondering. And I know it seems like a joke and it just seems like me being an asshole about it. But in our current climate, don't be surprised. And truth be told, if I was Twitch or if I was YouTube, maybe they should have people who are content creators. Well, let me reword this. Maybe it should be an option for people who do content creation and who are monetized on YouTube and Twitch respectfully, that maybe they do like what the, what the NFL does, for example. And hey, maybe you should put a little bit of your money away. You know what I'm saying? You can invest it with us or whatever, or whatever hedge fund that each one of these companies are associated with, whatever they want to do. And maybe do that for some of these people who clearly don't understand what their shelf life is like and who have a problem saving money. You know what I'm saying? Maybe that's an option. Maybe it could be considered an option. Just something to think about. This is forward thinking. I know that's something that DSP does not promote, and that's the reason why, people over there on his side of the fucking fence don't have cars and shit like that, or have to file for bankruptcy multiple times, or whatever the case may be. If realistically, that's probably not a terrible idea. And yet again, let me reiterate that maybe it's not something that should be forced upon people, but maybe it should be an option. Maybe for some of these people who are coming into more money than they're used to, and maybe they don't have someone in their life that could really be like, hey, maybe you should save some of this, or maybe you should consider investing, or whatever the case may be. Maybe if they were like, hey, you want to put a percentage of what you're earning into an account with us, and you'll see, I guess, monthly or bi-monthly or yearly, whatever the case may be, what your, how your money's growing and how you're progressing. And maybe that would encourage some of these guys or some of these people to maybe consider putting some of their own money into their own bank accounts and maybe think about investing or whatever the case may be. Because it's not like the resources aren't out there, but clearly not everybody's picking up on it. And if you have failures like Darksydephil who are running around saying, I have a business degree, I have a background in finances, and all this, that, and the third, and you see how fucked up he is, then maybe, just maybe, it's not a bad option. We'll see. Let's continue. Oh, let's get started. Sorry.
All right, guys. I just want to say thank you for a great, definitely a great week. Great streaming week. I want to apologize if I came off in the last few days as a little bit pushy when it came to contributions. A few people have said that. Here's the deal. Again.
Great screenshot. Who is it that's telling you that you're being too pushy? Now, I'm sure there's a lot of theories out there at the moment, but two people who really stand out to me is whoever the dude is who keeps throwing money at him each and every month for the Patreon goal. What is that, $50? And they can get like a special video made or whatever. I would assume that person, or at least they are in a position where they have something to say about it. Slayer, I think the guy's name is. And then whoever it is that's helping with all these edits as it pertains to the to the YouTube Shorts. And as I think I might have said it in a previous video, I'm not sure if that video has been released yet because I'm doing like a bunch of shit in bulk. Whoever it is that's editing the YouTube Shorts, or let's say there are multiple people, because I don't want to put it all on one person when it actually could be multiple people. Then we get into a whole only iced coffee situation again, and no one wants to go through that. But maybe, just maybe, if he has like one or two people that are editing those YouTube Shorts, maybe he could consider seeing if they'd be willing to actually edit the actual daily uploads. And instead of doing an upload for the day, so let's say he streams on Monday, yeah? Okay? There won't be anything on the channel uploaded on Monday. The only thing will be left up will be the stream that he did, the 2 streams that he did throughout the day. That's it. The raw streams would be left up that day. Then whoever it is that are doing the edits for him will go ahead and download those videos, or have it sent to them, or those streams. Have it sent to them. They can edit overnight, and then DSP can upload everything from Monday on Tuesday. Once those uploads go up, he can private or unlist the stream from Monday, and then just do it like that. So there is no actual upload on a Monday except for the stream, or whatever was edited on Sunday, if that makes sense. It'd be a day stagger, like how it's supposed to be when he was on Twitch. And voila, that could work, as long as these people could stay on top of it from an editing standpoint. Doesn't sound like a bad idea. And why not? Because let's be honest, the way this dinosaur has been doing things, as people have told him for years, needs to stop. If Moist Criticals decided to come out and say, hey, on top of your e-begging, maybe you should edit your fucking videos, I guarantee you DSP would have definitely pushed for someone or others or someones to start to see if anybody would be willing to do it. Why not get ahead of that right now? I mean, it doesn't guarantee that the views will go up dramatically, but at least he'd be going into the right direction, because he's not going to do it on his own. And granted, he gives you all these lies, pathetic lies, by the way, like we haven't seen what his desktop looks like, about how he doesn't have editing software and whatnot, which is a lie. I'm pretty sure he has Shotcut, and he probably has something else, which are 2 free pieces of software. Or he could hit up the homie James the Lesser and get a copy of a particular software from him. I won't say it just because the people be listening and whatnot. The peoples be watching. So, you know what I'm saying? There are resources out there. Or he can just get someone else to get him like a copy of get him a bootleg copy of like Premiere or whatever. There are options out there. But if he's too lazy to do it, he could easily outsource that to other people. They're not gonna expect to be paid for it, or they're not expecting to be paid for it, because this idiot's in distress all the time. So it's not like they don't know what they're walking into. The question is, can they keep up with the schedule? And the more people DSP can convince to do it, maybe the better. It's like the what was that shit called? The KO community creation thing. It was like it was KOCC, whatever. It'd be just like that for This Is How You Don't Play back in the day, when DSP tried to run that racket, where he literally tried to have his own community make This Is How You Don't Plays, and then he would upload it on KO Gaming and try to reap the profits from there. Didn't work, because all those content creators were cucked, because anything funny, right, or anything that makes light of or makes fun of DSP directly, if you will, is bad. So they had to go ahead and inflate that shit, essentially, to basically throw softballs at DSP, and that's not entertaining. And that's the problem with Darksydephil. He's not entertaining. He really never was. He was obnoxious, and maybe that's what people perceived as entertainment. But as time goes on, and as people grow up, for the most part, more and more of his vulnerabilities and his shortcomings became apparent. If you cannot laugh at yourself or take criticism, you're in the wrong fucking place, or wrong sector, or whatever the fuck you want to call it. And that's just not something that he's learned. And he's been around all these years and has the nerve to say that all these people are doing it wrong, or he has a very different way of doing things than they do, is yet again obscene, and it's copage on the highest level. Because all the ways that these other people did it are proven to be successful. You see some detractors who have adopted that or aspects of it and become successful. What's DSP's excuse? When you have a detractor who's supposedly a mentally ill idiot, by the way, who is beating you out in views with one video a day or one video they do every other day, and you have to upload 6 videos a day and you're not matching their views, there's a problem. Clearly, there's a problem. And then he wants to compound the YouTube Shorts on top of it, thinking that's going to help him. All you're doing is bloating the uploading schedule yet again, and you're only going to make it worse. If YouTube only puts out, and I'll make this final point and then we can move on. If YouTube only sends out, I'm pretty confident it was like 4 notifications a day per channel, then theoretically 2+ hours of footage on his channel is useless. Because what does he upload? We have the pre-code podcast, or the bottom bitch podcast, as I also like to call it. Not trademarked. You have the pre-code podcast. You have potentially 3 streams or 3 segments of gameplay. Then you have the 2 at night. Then you have the daily wrap, and now you're trying to put a fucking short on there too. And then he's talking about wanting to re-upload some of these old series that he did from back in the day, and those are 10-minute segments. And he's talking about dumping those on the channel. And whether they get notifications, whether notifications go out for that or not, doesn't mean anything, because the face of his channel, the storefront of his channel, if you will, is so conflicted, busted, whatever you want to call it, disembobulated, that no one's ever going to be able to find anything. He doesn't make it easy. His storefront's not easily accessible, right? Like, yeah, having a playlist is all well and good, but when people first jump onto your channel, that's the representation of you and what you're producing or what you're peddling or whatever the case may be. And he's never really understood that. Like, the presentation is one of the more telling aspects of the person in general. He's never understood that. That's why he comes up on stream every day looking like a goddamn bum. You know what I mean? And he doesn't see nothing wrong with it, because he expects that all of you have been around for a long time, you know who he is, and you're invested in him as a person, that you can overlook that. Well, people can only overlook so much. But fuck all that. If you're someone new coming into the situation, into the scenario, you don't have to overlook shit, because you already understand how valuable and how precious your time is, and you don't need to waste that on someone who's not even willing to put that time and effort into themselves, into their content. Let alone, why should you invest into that? And that's not something that's ever gotten through his head. Hence the reason why he's still at where he's at. It's the same reason why this bitch is up here looking like a fucking junkie, and whatnot, a digital junkie, if you will, saying that, hey, I'm sorry that I have to keep doing this, but it's a habit and I can't stop. But let's continue.
Transparent with all of you. So the holiday season was great, because not only was there nonstop new releases, so therefore there was way more support, but also, if you remember, what was it, September, October? I can't remember exactly the month. If you remember, one month, I got a crazy big increase in members, correct? You remember, we skyrocketed above 1,000 members here on DSP Gaming. You remember that, right? And basically what that did is they put me into a good position financially for a couple of months there, where I was kind of ahead of everything, because I had extra income. I was like, oh, I can actually use this, to buffer that. Remember I said, oh, I was able to get...
Never thought about saving any of it, right? And isn't that the money that was used to buy Catherine her Xbox? Right? That's what that was. That was that scenario that he's speaking on. But yet we were still begging the entire time while he had this influx of money to help him out with trying to buffer on this and buffer on that. Just keep that in mind. I'm just saying. Just because we had that large influx of subs that he couldn't hold on to, by the way, doesn't change the fact that the begging was still in high gear. Or high snorts. Whatever.
A new controller for Black Friday. I was able to buy a replacement monitor because my monitor had died. My TV died, and I was able to pay these payments each month to pay it off. You know what I'm saying? So
and yet again, if we were a successful businessman, why don't we have reserves for this? Why doesn't DSP Enterprises, or whatever the fuck you want to call it, why isn't there an emergency fund that is put aside for peripherals that he needs to hold up on his job? Now that I think about it, we have a $5,000 business expense each and every month. There is no contingency plan within that $5,000 just in case shit happens as it pertains to something breaking or something that needs to be replaced. I'm just asking. I don't have the business degree, so I'm just asking. I don't have the ACE certification on how to improve a business and whatnot, and how to build upon an already existing structure. You know what I'm saying? Or infrastructure, I should say. I don't have that, so I'm just trying to get an understanding of how this all works, and if so, why is he failing at it? Defiant sniff.
A little bit. All right? But basically what's happened, two things, just to be, again, I like being transparent with you guys. There's no reason for me to not.
I'm just a cute pup in a sharp suit that loves bacon. That's all I can offer. That's really it. Womp womp.
Because I want you to understand where I'm coming from. Number one, if you haven't noticed, yeah, we don't still have 1,000 members. It went back down to the normal levels. So that increase to income kind of went away.
Which, yet again, sorry, but just shows you how far Twitch was carrying him back in the day when he was on Twitch. Because outside of not only the gifted subs, right, but also all of the Twitch Prime subs, which is what the majority of his audience was using towards him anyway. That's what was really carrying him. You know what I mean? If you really think about it. So I don't know, between 350, 375 and like 550 subs that he had every month over there. And that's me probably being very generous. I'm feeling generous right now for some reason. But between that range, if you will, of monthly concurring subs, right? Most of those were just Twitch Prime. If those people didn't have that, how many people was really throwing up their $5 each and every month to help him maintain, let's say $450 to $500 on average? Really take that in. If it wasn't for Twitch, I mean, truth be told, YouTube is a reflection of what Twitch would have been if Twitch didn't have all these safeguards in place. If Twitch didn't mind, if YouTube's infrastructure was willing to curve itself like Twitch. Hence the reason why when he finally lost monetization on Twitch, he kept complaining while he was over here on YouTube about, why can't YouTube be more like Twitch? Why can't YouTube be more like Twitch? And I think a lot of us, myself included, initially took that at face value or at snort value and thinking, oh, he's just mad because of the monetization, this, that, and the third. But when you really think about it, or at least as I really think about it, I think it's really more how financially they were set up and how he was able to break TOS and some of these other things that are coming to light now. I think that's what he was really talking about, a year or two ago. That's, as you think about it, you may see where I'm coming from, or at least you'll come up to at least some type of notion on your own. But Twitch really carried him, and they really cradled him, if you really think about it. And it's pretty fucking amazing. And it's because of that, and I don't think they did it well, of course they did, because they do that to a lot of their content creators. That's why Twitch is the way it is, and that's why it's the toxic cesspool that everybody wants to get out of, for the most part. But it's the fact that in any time throughout DSP's life, someone had to be there to carry him in some way, shape, or form. He's not strong enough to do it on his own. This isn't something hard to figure out or identify. It's just something that I think for a lot of people, not just your detractors, trolls, haters, and critics, but just for the average viewer, you're desensitized to. You're desensitized to it, I should say. You don't really take into account how much help that he actually has until you really think about it. Just something to think about. DSP News?
On top of that, this week in particular, if you didn't notice, things slowed down to a crawl with playthroughs like Signalis and One Piece Odyssey. There were streams going on where I was barely making anything. And it's one thing if it happens once. It's one thing if it happens one day. but this was like multiple days in a row. And sadly, I hate to say it, it put the pressure on me again. It made me feel nervous. And I kind of fell back a little bit into my old habits. And I want to apologize to you.
To be honest with you, this bit that you're listening to right now isn't anything new. He said the same thing on Twitch. You would have to dig deep into Almighty Tevin's archives for it. But I would say easily 2018. If you go through some of Tevin's restreams, you'll see it. You'll see examples of it. Oh, well, I can have one bad day on stream on Twitch or whatever, but I can't have multiple days, guys. I need this money to pay my bills. I need this money to provide. I need this money to get games and to do this and to do that and have money, you know, available to me in case a monitor breaks, in case he needs a new controller or whatever the case may be. Which is, yet again, goes back to the cycle that I've talked to you guys about, where nothing that you're seeing is really new. It's something that he's done in the past at one time or another. You guys have been around long enough, you'll know it. You can identify some of this. It's nothing really new. The scenario, or his situation has changed, but not necessarily the scenario. The scenario is just a carbon copy of something else.
All right, I want you to understand. I don't like being like that. I don't like being like, oh, please support. Please, I had slow days. Please support. I hate that shit. I hate being like that. But it really made me very nervous. And quite frankly, I'm hoping that in the next couple of weeks with new releases such as Dead Space is coming Friday. We got some new releases coming out, like we got SpongeBob at the end of the month. We've got Hogwarts Legacy. We've got the Super Bowl event coming up. I'm hoping that those things will invigorate you guys again to be excited for the content. Because when people are more excited, they show up more, they engage more, and yes, they support more. And that means that puts pressure off of me, you see? I wish that I was a ginormous content creator that made ridiculous amounts of money because I had so many viewers. As you know, that's not the case. I'm a very small-time guy, and I'm so grateful for what I get. And then when things slow down and things start getting behind again, I get nervous. And it makes me feel weak, and it makes me feel, you know, like I'm not going to be able to make ends meet and provide, and it sucks. It's a terrible feeling. Especially because this
and this is what happens when you don't know how to save. This is what happens when you don't respect money. This is what happens when you have to run around chasing other people and shitting on their success while you're in a worse off situation than most of them can ever be. This is the reason why DSP is the fucking toilet of the fucking internet and shit. And to be honest with you, anytime that you watch Darksydephil, you should be learning something. Not directly from him, but in the fact of from his actions, if you will. So it's almost like an indirect type thing. You know what I mean? DSP's concept of, oh, if this has been going good on Monday, it should be like this forever, is retarded. Sorry, but I'm not sorry. That's kind of retarded. No one should think that way. You could have things going good for you for a week, maybe even a month. That doesn't guarantee it's going to be like that forever. And that goes with anything. That goes with relationships, that goes with jobs, that goes with hobbies. Things can be great at first, but as time goes on, stuff could fade. How you feel about it could fade. It could still be going great, but your passion for it or how you approach it may not be as fulfilling. This idiot has the opposite effect. He has somebody who comes in and tosses him a bunch of money. Oh, he's expecting them to be there next month, and the month after that, and the month after that. The days of a Brightside Viking is over. Only Iced Coffee, I don't even know what the fucking make of that subject. I've already been proven it. I've already proven it, but I think Only Iced Coffee was really he was just trying to get DSP in a situation where he was completely and utterly dependent on him, and then he was going to end up dropping him. He was going to drop him flat. And that's why Only Iced Coffee had to use my homie, what's that dude's name? Super Crazy. That's why he ended up using Super Crazy's How to Catch a Pay Pig or whatever. That whole series, Only Iced Coffee used to basically cut down the people that could be a contingency plan, if you will, for DSP at any given time. He basically went after those guys so DSP would only be dependent on him. And it essentially worked, at least for a little while. And then he started to get Only Iced Coffee got a little bit spurgy, and then he decided to go at super crazy for whatever reason, and you know, for those of you who know how that ends, you know how that ends. Just silly shit all around. But yet again, like, he didn't even realize how Only Iced Coffee almost had him entrapped. He almost missed that. In the exact same way with the Fotabi and Laveria Media situation. Those people were about to trap his YouTube channels in a situation that could have taken him a month or more to get out of. And DSP saw the signs. That flimsy contract was just that. But that doesn't mean it couldn't have worked. It doesn't mean it couldn't have hemmed his dumb ass up for a month or so. And that's what this idiot really represents. He runs around and keeps telling you guys, I'm so smart, I'm not an idiot. Yet he keeps doing idiotic, stupid things. And can't explain why. But he's quick to ask you guys a day or two later, can you guys support and help bail me out? I'm extremely confused by that. How do you have someone who runs around here perpetually and says that he's not an idiot, he's not stupid, he's intelligent, and yet he keeps fucking himself up, and then expects other people to pull him out? That's wild. And when you look at some of the bigger situations that he's been in, it was a detractor, troll, hater, or critic who put the word out that, hey, this is bad, and here's my backup, or here's my research on it to prove that. Just something to think about. Yet again. And yet again, if he's such a successful businessman, if supposedly all these haters are on his coattails, why the fuck do you have a segment like this going on? Why does this exist? You take begging away from him, he has nothing. You go back further enough, or far enough, if you will, in his YouTube career, it's all been begging. If it wasn't for money for Patreon, or if it wasn't money to his PayPal, it was for views. It was for people sharing his videos. It was people to basically do the legwork to get him out there. Then Patreon, then tips and bits and subs and everything else. He has begged his entire career. And because he was able to be quote-unquote successful at it, or at least he, in his own mind, he perceives that as success, he kept doing it. And because very few people within the viewer base, or within the cult, or within the people who financially support them, because there were so few people who gave him any pushback, he took that as consent. So he just kept doing it. He just kept doing it. And this goes back, yet again, I hate fucking having to co-sign to this person, but this is where Review Tech USA is right, in the fact that how are you going to accuse him of something, or how are you going to accuse Rich of something that Moist Critical called you out on, and Rich has been doing that forever, and all these other detractors, trolls, haters, and critics have been doing it forever. But how come does Moist Critical get the pass? Well, Rich already knows the answer to that, but it does come across as hypocritical. And the fact that Moist didn't go ahead and call him out on that too, just goes, not that he didn't want to, it's just he didn't see a need to. Like you said earlier, it's not that deep. So he could have easily have chastised DSP on that. Because that one little notion, that one little nugget I gave you, is no different than anything else that Moist Critical doesn't call out on someone else. DSP is not worth the time. And the more lip service, not even lip service, but the more face time that Moist gives to DSP, the more DSP thinks he's going to be able to get that foothold in. And yet again, that only proves how much content Moist Critical watched, and how he figured out what the scenario was going to be. And that's why he dropped it as quickly as he brought it up, which was smart on his part. And that's why no one else of real credibility will ever touch him. Even now, I don't want to say that, because Nick Ricade is just going through some shit right now. That doesn't take away from what he's done. Yeah, so let me just, I didn't say anything, but let me retract that. I don't want to say that. That's not fair. That's not fair. Nick is not in such a bad situation where that takes away from his overall reputation. He's in a bad spot right now. There's some pretty questionable decisions being made. But I still don't think that takes away from the overall that he's provided, not only on YouTube as it pertains to like the law stuff, but to even some of his things that he said about DSP. To be honest with you, how do some just I'll put out a quick questionnaire to you guys. How do you guys feel about Nick Rekieta considering on paying DSP to do an interview? I mean, do you call him a hypocrite for that? Do you say, oh, it's good entertainment, so is it worth it? I mean, what, you know what I'm saying? Like, where do you make of that? And then more importantly, if Nick was to do that, is Nick Rekieta going to get his money's worth out of it? Or is it going to turn into another quartering situation? Which it won't, because Nick is smarter than the quartering, honestly. And yet again, I'm of the theory that the quartering only went for that interview to spite Rich. It's going to be very hard for someone to convince me otherwise of that. But does that take away from Nick's credibility if he does consider paying for the interview or not? That's my question to you guys. All right, let's continue.
And things start getting behind again, I get nervous. And it makes me feel weak, and it makes me feel, you know, like I'm not going to be able to make ends meet and provide, and it sucks. It's a terrible feeling, especially because this month I have, you know, big tax payment coming up. I just did, and it was all this stuff. It's like, damn. So basically, to put things into perspective, I don't like being like I am sometimes. It actually, it annoys me. And then it happens, and I'm like, damn, why did I say that? Why did I do that? And I feel like shit. I feel like this week I let you guys down. I really do. Because, you know, when people are coming out and saying, Phil, you're doing it again. That I'm like, shit, again? Like, fuck. I don't want to be like that. It really pisses me off now when I look back at some of the streams I did this week, and I hear myself, I'm like, yeah, I did it again.
But see, that's kind of bullshit, though, too, because if he didn't get called out, would he have stopped? Just something to think about. Whoever it is who's giving him money behind the scenes, silent majority, whatever you want to call it, whoever it is who's funding him, if they didn't say anything, if they were too busy doing their busy work with their own lives or slaving away for him, if they didn't say anything, would you have this moment right now?
So I hope you understand where I'm coming from. That's why, but that's not an excuse. That's not good for me to be like that on my streams. I want...
And with that being said, why isn't more people in his audience calling him out over that 50K thing with Keemstar? If this is really how bad he feels begging, right? And if this is how much insecurity that he has built up for himself, right? And if his business is just obviously not working, if he can't beg you guys for that added support, then what is his real justification for not taking up Keemstar on that deal? Someone in his audience should really ask him that. Fuck the moral bullshit. If you really can't make ends meet and you have all these financial obligations and you feel that you're coming up short as a provider for your family, and yet you're not taking advantage of these big opportunities that are coming your way, then what kind of provider are you really?
And all about the games and all about the interaction. Because if you take a look, I mean, did people like Signalis this week? Absolutely not. Most people did not. A few people did. Actually, a good amount of people came out today for the finale and supported it. I am very appreciative of that. People didn't like Signalis. That's going to happen. Not every game that I play is going to hit it out of the park, right? But when it adds up to the point where it's several days where it's kind of like that, and now it's looking like, oh God, I'm not making anything for a bunch of days here. It made me nervous, and it sucked.
And see, that right there is going to lead into his justification for wage quitting games again. Watch how that plays out as 2023 continues to push forward. When you have situations like this, he's literally laying out the snorts in the sand, if you will, or the hooves in the sand. But you know, really his hooves and his fucking snout. To be honest with you, the point is he's putting his snorts in the wind, if you will, for what's going to end up coming later. If he starts wage quitting games, and you know, let's say in another month or two, so March, April-ish, you're going to understand. Most people will probably end up seeing the justification behind it just off of what he's saying right here. No one in his audience will, because it's in one ear and out the other. But I think for most people who are really paying attention, or even passively paying attention in some ways, you may remember this moment, possibly.
This week coming up, I'm hoping that things are going to turn around a little bit because there's new games and everything. I mean, Dead Space is the game everyone's been waiting for months, so I'm excited to play it for you guys. And hopefully it's a great playthrough, you know, and, you know, I hope We'll see what happens. And again, I wholeheartedly apologize. Here's the other thing, too. It's not like this was a bad week. We had a ton of memberships this week, right? Tons. And on top of that, Super Chats actually are up this week. They are, like, way up compared to previous weeks. The catch-22 here is that support I don't get for a while. It's the tips, and when the tips slow down, like, oh, God. So now I gotta, I just got paid by YouTube. Again, I'm going to be...
Massive fucking cope coming up. Massive fucking cope. So, yet again, so we're getting this money from our monthly check, if you will, from YouTube, right? Then you still got Patreon. Then whatever money that people are directly donating to his PayPal off screen, or off streams, I should say, that he don't tell you about. But, and all that long-term support, if you will, is great. But I need to also bleed you guys every day, weekly, so I can live the way I want. Because it's funny how he keeps telling you about all these bills and all these financial obligations, but then when he gets paid, oh, well, it covered all that, but I still have day-to-day stuff that I need to worry about. And keep in mind, if you remember back to his days on Twitch, he said literally every day he had a bill to pay. What does that mean? DoorDash? You know what I'm saying? The daily deliveries from fucking Total Wine? What exactly? WWE Champions? What about that? Take in what he's saying.
The tips slow down, like, oh, God. So now I gotta, I just got paid by YouTube. Again, I'm going to be transparent with you guys. I just got paid by YouTube yesterday, and immediately I had to pay all my big bills. So I went boom, 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 paid them all. And then I'm looking at the other bills that are clearing the end of the month, and then there's another slew of bills that the end of the first week of the month. I'm looking, I'm like, that's my whole YouTube payment. That's it. It's gone. It's done. It's completely erased, as if I never got it. It's all accounted for in bills.
And see, when you say shit like that, like it never existed, that's basically him low-key saying, hey, you guys didn't give me enough money. You know what I mean? You guys didn't contribute enough to super chats, super thanks. You didn't watch enough of my videos to generate ad revenue. All the things on YouTube that would get him paid. You guys aren't doing enough. And because you're not doing enough, it's putting me further and further behind. Which means I need to continue to put more and more pressure on you pay pigs to, step the fuck up so I can continue to, make my bills. So I can pay off my obligations. It's a vicious fucking cycle that is never going to break because he doesn't want it to break. He needs it to be this way. This is what feeds his addictions, I'm sorry. You know what I'm saying? This is a way of life for him. He can't go back to being normal, if he was ever normal. And what is really normal? If you think about this shit, think me doing this is normal? Let's be honest. I can be shitting on fucking bigger content creators. As if I don't do that enough through these anyway. That's my trick. Anyway, this is a vicious fucking cycle that he doesn't want to break. He doesn't want to have to give this up. It's too easy doing it this way. It's too convenient to do it this way. That's why when people keep saying, when some people say that dude has pride, tell me where. Tell me where. Does this look like someone who has pride? Does this someone who carries him? Does this look like the face, or does it sound like someone who runs a successful business? Jesus Christ, he doesn't even beg correctly if you really think about it. If you really took his scenario, his situation, and you broke that shit down, someone of greater charisma, not even intelligence, someone of greater charisma could sell this better and make far more money. He can't do that. Just like how he couldn't manipulate, because that's what it was, he couldn't manipulate Moist Critical into being his bitch. He couldn't do it because he wasn't smart enough. But not only that, Moist knows too much about him. He knows too much about him. And that's what DSP depends on. He's always depended on that. He depends on your lack of knowledge and what he perceives as his own intellectual superiority. He's been like that in Street Fighter too. If you put him on equal grounds with any player back in the day, he got cleaned up. He needed to have an advantage and or an edge over people. That was it. And because he's a shitty... You know what? There are, like I said, there's some Street Fighter videos already out there that goes over Street Fighter. I'll just save that energy for that. I will save that energy for that. But if he doesn't have the advantage, then he's already failed, which only further compounds on him begging, or him needing people's support, or needing people's sympathy. And that's just what he is. He's never going to be his own man. He's never going to be able to stand on his own 2 or own 4. It's easier this way. It doesn't make sense to the average person. It don't make sense to you. But that's how it works. That's how he perceives it working. The only difference is he still believes in his whatever reason, and his piggy heart and shit, that Moist Critical or someone else will come to his side. But he's not going to. Moist Critical's not going to do it. Frederick Knudsen is definitely not going to do it, especially after DSP's dumbass made those demands about, why don't you make a part 2 to my Down the Rabbit Hole and let me have my side. The moment he did that, the moment he told Frederick that, Frederick was like, yeah, I'm done. You can react to whatever shit that I have on my channel. Not shit, I'm sorry. You can react to whatever stuff that's on my channel that you want to. Go ahead. But no, I'm not going to sit there and revise or do another fucking follow-up on that. Because Frederick saw the manipulation. He saw it. So why put himself in that situation? Not for Phil. It'd be different if he really fucked up, but he didn't. DSP perceived what some of the stuff he said as a fuck up. And that's why it needed to be changed. That's why his side of the story needed to be brought out. There's no guarantee, and truth be told, there's no guarantee that that second follow-up would hit in the exact same way as the first one did. And that's not me shortchanging Frederick's talent. That's not the case at all. But it's not gonna hit the same. Like, if DSP's fucking hoof is in that shit, even in the smallest part, it's gonna come through in that documentary. It's gonna come through in that video, and people are gonna know it. And people will just clone it, and then go ahead and a bunch of detractors will react to it, and it'll snuff the video out before it ever really gets a chance to grow. Or it'll just take years upon years for it to finally do it, and by then that's not going to be any use to him, meaning DSP, and that takes away from Frederick's credibility and his I guess you could say journalistic integrity. You know what I mean? It doesn't work that way. And there's no point in Frederick doing an interview with him, because DSP is going to skew that shit as much as he can, and Frederick doesn't need that, nor does he want it. It just doesn't work that way. The world doesn't work that way. But in DSP's mind, that's how it should be. Which makes it even more silly and pathetic.
So it's funny when people say that, oh, don't worry, you're getting paid by YouTube. It's like, yeah, but that money is already accounted for. That's the problem. It's not like, oh, it's my big payday and I roll in dough for 3 weeks. It's, I get paid immediately, goes out to this, goes out to this, goes out to this. Really, the money that I have to spend on anything is what I
gotta be honest with you, too. Because I've been thinking about this a little bit. Because everybody wants to say this shit looks like Uchiha Itachi, which hurts my feelings in so many ways, trying to compare these marks on his face to him. It's disgusting. Anyway, you know what these do kind of remind me of? It kind of reminds me of the rolls that a pig has behind its snout. That's really what this shit reminds me of, or what it screams out to me. And also, possibly, I don't know if these are just has these formed into nasty fucking sweat glands and shit, and that's why when he wipes away from it, it has like that greasy residue, and that's why he has to wipe it on his I don't know, like the arm of his chair, or on his pants, or on his shirt, which is disgusting. If you feel the need to do that, why don't you just wash your fucking face? Or if we're trying to keep the water bill down, I guess, I don't know. I mean, this is someone who bathes only a couple times a week, and I don't understand what that life's like. Don't you have tissues all over the place and shit? I mean, unless there's piggy juice on each and every one of them, because whatever. Why don't you just use like a tissue or something to wipe your face? It's right there. I don't know. I just one of those things that I was thinking about. But they kind of look. That's what they look like. They're. You see how puffed up and everything they are? It's like they're nasty fucking sweat glands and shit. Ew. It's like that. Wow. It's amazing what a little bit of light, a little bit of artificial light, I should say, how it can fucking affect a person. And ladies and gentlemen, this is the reason why. Go fucking outside and get some goddamn exercise. Don't end up like this piece of shit. How is this appealing to anybody? He needs to go back to not having a face cam for the pre-stream podcast. Just go back to audio form. This isn't good. This isn't good because you look like a crazy person, to be honest with you. And I hate to use the term crazy because it's dismissive. I hate to use that term because it's dismissive, but you look deranged. You look like you are out your fucking element mentally. You look insane. And this shit right here sounds crazy. And I'm devoting time to it, which makes me just as crazy. But this shit sounds crazy. That you have to make an excuse about this shit. When this is something you've been doing. You never really stopped. You tried to curb it, but you couldn't. Just like you couldn't curb your drinking, just like you couldn't curb your gambling addiction. Which leads me to wonder, what is the real reason why Panda got up and out that house? Like, what was her real reason for wanting to let this shit go? What was the real problems they were having? Remember, you know, Panda couldn't have thought that she was going to go unemployed forever. But she wasn't really making any content either, if I remember correctly. Or at least not enough. So, what was DSP doing to drive her out the house to get a job? And that WWE Champions account is old. So, you know what I'm saying? You gotta... The amount of money... And then his drinking has always been a problem. You know what I'm saying? Those 1.75 liters of fucking Tanqueray didn't disappear on their own. There's a lot to take into it. And that's what he doesn't want anybody to talk about. Because the further you look into the abyss, the more problems you're going to see. But it's a double-edged sword, though, too. You got to be careful. You look into the abyss, that bitch is going to look back. And not everybody is ready for what they're going to see.
On my streams, you know? So that's why when I have several slow days, it worries me. And I feel like I gave in to that nervousness and my weakness this week, and I said and did things stupidly that I shouldn't have done. And I really apologize for that, okay? I'll do my best this coming week to not do it again. But I felt like I owed you this apology because I really did feel like I came down too strongly this week after looking back, especially a couple people leaving me comments and things. I'm like, you know, they're right. Here we go again. I'm right back to my old ways, which I told you guys I'm doing my best to try not to do this. You know what I'm saying? And here we go again, going back to my old ways. I don't like that shit, you know? So anyway, I'm sorry, okay? I really am. I'm sorry, and I hope that this coming week is a little better and it takes the pressure off and I don't do that again, okay?
Now, here's another thing. He says comments. I could lament about the comments on his fucking YouTube channel for days, where you go up to that bitch and it says there's 10 comments up there, but you only see like 2. I mean, that could be a lot of shit, because you know he's heavily policing his comment section. But truth be told, whoever it is who's giving this dude money behind the scenes is what's caused this, which is what the cause and effect of this. That's what brought this up. So it makes you wonder, one, how many people are throwing money at him behind the scenes that we're not privy to, and two, how many people and how much? Because it must be a good amount for him to feel the need to come out and give this lame-brained, pathetic apology. This internet junkie fucking apology and shit. Like this is some type of intervention and shit, and he's already failing. Like, it makes you wonder how much money is out there that he's trying to protect, if he's willing to go through the links to do this nonsense. That should really pique some of your interest, to be honest with you. Now, yet again, it's all entertainment. You don't have to take this shit seriously. You got dumbasses like me to do that. But like, it should pique your interest a little bit on what kind of money is being divvied out, or favors, or whatever the case may be. Something to bring him down to his piggy hooven knees to do this.
I can't promise you I won't, because I feel like whenever this happens, I get weak and then it fucking fall right back into those old ways again. But let's see what happens.
So then what was the point of the... I gotta bring that back. Then what the fuck was the point of the apology? I want you to think about that for a minute, right? Let's say, for example, I'll use myself as the example, actually. let's say one of you, let's say a bunch of you, actually said, you know what? Yo, Golden, man, I don't have no real problems with you or nothing, man, but I don't, certain things that you're saying, I'm not feeling, bro. I'm not feeling how you go at that dude. You know what I'm saying? I'm not feeling it. I think it's overly aggressive. I think it's offensive. I'm just not feeling it, man. You know what I'm saying? I wish you luck and everything moving forward, but I can't dig on that. Fair enough. I can respect you on that. Not gonna stop though. That's how I do it. That's how I treat him. It is what it is. Me saying sorry to you and saying I'm not gonna do it that way anymore would be a lie. Because one, I don't want to change the way I do it. There's a lot of people out here. There's a lot of talented people out here. Don't ever feel that you need to settle. You should never settle. Not with your entertainment, not with your life, not with the things that you have in your life or the people that you have in it. So by all means, you know what I'm saying? Explore your options. I'm not going to sit here and tell you like DSP or Wings or anybody else, get the fuck out. What I will say though is explore your options. There are a lot of choices out there. The way I do it is the way I do it. And that right there, I think, is a fair statement to make. But me lying to you, which is what that actually is, and saying that, oh, well, I'll try to curve it, I'll try to cut back, then I'm not me. So what's the point? So back to him, what's the point of you apologizing if you're saying that, oh, well, he basically said, I'm going to do it again. So what's the point in apologizing? Why does this exist? Outside of this is at someone else's command. Someone else is the driving force behind him doing this. And it's not his wife. It's not his living roommate. Someone else that has something over him or is providing him something is the driving force behind this. But yet again, what's the point of apologizing if you're going to do it again? That makes no goddamn sense.
Hope that this coming week is a little better and it takes the pressure off and I don't do that again. Okay? The thing is, I can't promise you I won't. Because I feel like whenever this happens, I get weak and then it fucking fall right back into those old ways again. But let's see what happens, and hopefully I can be stronger in the future and not be fucking being like that, you know? Alright. Elon's Musk did a super chat. Hola, como estás? Me llamo Elon's Musk. Good for you. I'm glad that's your name. Thank you for the super chat. And Krasko, thank you for that super sticker. Okay. Alright, everyone. This was a great streaming week. I'm actually very excited for next week. Ask the King as soon as I come back will be fun. Then Warzone, that's a good combination. Dead Space all day Friday, and then balancing Dead Space with everything else. Like, every day has good stuff coming up that I'm excited for. So, I hope that you'll be back when I come back on Thursday. Remember, I'm not here tomorrow. However, I'll be uploading a special montage video tomorrow of all those glitches and funny moments that happened during the Warzone stream earlier in the week, in case you missed it. All in one consolidated.
A montage that he didn't edit. That's at someone else's leisure and expense.
Bye. I hope you'll check that out here on DSP Gaming as of tomorrow. Should be fun. And I hope that you all have a good night, a good day off tomorrow. Be safe. Have fun with it wherever you do. And when I come back refreshed, I'll be ready for action this coming Thursday. I hope you will too. All right, guys? Thank you so very much. Have a good night. And I will see you all on Thursday, all right?
Oh my God, that was pathetic. Someone tell this digital junkie bitch that if you're really not strong enough to stand on your own fucking two, then don't apologize for shit that you can't fix. Like, you know what I'm saying? Things that you clearly don't want to fix. That's what it really comes down to. A thing that he doesn't want to fix. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, give me a second to get this together, and then I'll see you guys for final thoughts. Holy shit. Jesus Christ. So good. So good. What are we going to play out with? That'll do. It's a nice palate cleanser. God. Like I said, digital welfare, something. It might be a thing one day. Like I said, YouTube and Twitch might want to consider my idea. You know what I'm saying? For, I don't know if they would do it for everybody, but boy, that's an influx of capital that's coming into the company. And it may actually have some benefit for some of these younger content creators who are coming up who don't have any real financial knowledge or guidance. It's a win-win, but there's a lot that has to go into that. But point being is, at least amongst DSP, digital welfare has been a thing, and it's going to continue to be a thing. And there's nobody that's going to stop it. And it doesn't matter what detractor wants to give him the benefit of the doubt. It doesn't change anything. He is what he is, and he can never stop it. He already told you. Because, and I want you to also take this into account as we're closing this out. It's not a matter of he can't just stop begging. He can't stop drinking. He can't stop gambling. He can't stop lying. These are all habits that this man has, using the term man loosely here, and he can't give it up. He just can't. He's too reliant on it. It is what it is. So, in a lot of ways, him trying to change for Moist Critical, or if you want to give him even more credit than that, him trying to change for the long term, you should never, let me preface this. You should never think that you can't change. And you should never believe that some people can't change. But there are some people, and I've told you this, there are some people who just have it fucked up in life and that are just okay with it. And DSP is one of those people. He wouldn't have made it to where he made it without someone else's generosity. So why give any of that up now? And whether he appreciates those people or not, or whether he even understands the long-term ramifications that has happened to him, doesn't really matter either, because he only worries about the day-to-day. You know what I'm saying? He only worries about the day-to-day. So what does it matter that he's fighting something for years, and then in his mind, oh, well, I'll just apologize one day and then we get a clean slate? There are actually some people that are kind of like that. And those people aren't going to change because they don't see a reason to. Not until they have to. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for listening again. I very much appreciate it. And I will see you guys for the next one of these, whenever that may be. Whatever that may be. Thank you guys yet again for showing up. This is the Snort Report, and this is also DSP News, always late, never breaking, unreliable coverage that you can't count on. A GTG Network and Productions, and all of its subsidiaries. Take care of yourselves, guys. Take care of yourselves. And may the begging continue. Later, people.